Tonight, Israel at war. As the IDF moves to rid Rafah of Hamas, here at home, Christians turn to God on behalf of the Holy Land. And immigration in America.
Congress has to act. And the right thing to do is to keep pushing forward until we get it done.
Until then, President Biden looks to an order for asylum seekers. Plus,
you're not alone. We're all kind of running around like crazy.
Encouragement for moms ahead of Mother's Day. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
President Biden facing backlash for barring shipment of weapons to Israel. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Tara Merger from the CBN studio in Washington. Israel says it will move forward with its war in Gaza despite U.S. warning from the use that it won't supply certain weapons for an invasion of Rafah.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defiantly vowing to win the war with or without foreign arms, and even if Israelis must stand alone.
In the War of Independence 76 years ago, we were the few against the many. We did not have weapons. There was an arms embargo on Israel, but with great strength of spirit, heroism, and unity among us, we were victorious. Today, we are much stronger. We are determined, and we are united in order to defeat our enemies.
Republicans accuse President Biden of undermining Israel. Axios reporting that even some within his own party believe he's abandoning an ally. Still, the Biden administration is standing by its decision, arguing a wide-scale invasion of Rafah would embolden Hamas.
This is very straightforward. He's going to continue to provide Israel with the capabilities that it needs, all of them. But he does not want certain categories of American weapons used in a particular type of operation in a particular place.
The White House says it will continue working with Israel to develop an alternative plan that would defeat Hamas without endangering the lives of more than 1 million Palestinians sheltering in Rafah. Meanwhile, negotiators left Cairo today with no hostage deal in sight.
And while pro-Palestinian demonstrations rock college campuses across the globe, Israel appears more isolated than ever. And that's only made worse by rising anti-Semitism. Here in the USA, coalition evangelical leaders are making their voices heard. They're calling on Christians everywhere to pray for and stand with Israel. On Sunday, May 19th, they're asking churches to dedicate a portion of their worship services to pray for Israel's peace, prosperity, and protection during these very trying times. And churches aren't the only ones invited. They're also asking individuals, families, and small groups to unite in prayer on their own. Organizers say the event demonstrates their commitment to standing with the Jewish people.
Well, with us now is former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann and current Dean of Regent University's Roberts School of Government. Welcome to you, Dean Bachmann. So you co-chair the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, which brings government officials and influential Jewish and Christian leaders together annually in Israel's capital to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I know it's scheduled for later this month and coming at a time of an increased sense of urgency.
Yes, it is, John. Thank you so much for having me on. Because of the events that are happening, Christians are coming together and following the biblical directive to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now more than ever, when Israel is being attacked by all sides and globally, Israel is standing nearly alone. And despite the protestations of the Biden administration, yesterday the Biden administration announced that they were suspending shipments of weapons to the Jewish state. That's why Christians have an opportunity May 19th to have their pastor pray for Israel and pray for the Jewish people and for their safety around the world. Churches can do this anytime, but the Family Research Council is an Christian organization that has called all churches to set aside that day specifically to pray for Israel. And the timing is fortuitous because this is when Israel is making her much anticipated onslaught in Rafah. That's where the headquarters of Hamas is. Presumably, that's where the remaining hostages are. And Christians have been praying for the release of hostages from captivity and also for those who have died so that their bodies can come home and give rest to their families. This is a tremendous opportunity that we have. The Bible says that we are blessed when we bless Israel, but we're cursed when we curse Israel. So this is the time, no matter what the administration's policy is in the United States, we can choose a policy of blessing Israel. And so Sunday, May 19th is when Christians all over the world and through the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast will be seeking to pray for the blessing of Jerusalem, for Israel, and for the Jewish people.
And Michelle, deeply concerning is what many see as the unraveling of U.S. support for Israel. Leaders within the Christian community, as you've said, are being asked to visibly demonstrate unwavering support for Israel anchored in the Word of God. So how else do they best do that? And really, what kind of difference can be made by doing so?
Tara, it makes a huge difference to be visible. The number of people who are involved in the pro-terrorism protests is actually a very small number. A lot of them are paid agitators, but yet they appear like their numbers are greater than what they are. The most recent Harvard poll here in the United States shows that fully 82% of all Americans agree with supporting Israel. That's an astounding number. That's a very high level of support. Bobby Kennedy famously once said, if 80% of the American people agree on anything, it's unanimous. So when you have 82% of the American people supporting Israel, that's overwhelming. So now we need churches and individuals to stand up and demonstrate that support.
All right, Michelle Bachmann with Regent University, thank you so much for being with us. I wish we had more time.
Thanks, John.
All right, well, here in Washington, the Biden administration is moving closer to announcing an executive order aimed at cracking down on illegal border crossings.
The new rule would target the asylum process, allowing border officials to respond quicker to remove people considered a threat to either public safety or national security. CBN's Caitlin Burke joins us now with more. Caitlin, why would the administration take this route over turning to Congress for legislation?
John, Tara, the Biden administration wants some significant border action ahead of the election. With Republicans and Democrats at an impasse on immigration reform, certain leaders from both parties want the president to take the lead.
Well, obviously, I'm not an advisor to the president, but if I were, I'd say you ought to do something about this to the maximum extent of your ability.
After weighing various options, the Biden administration considers this new asylum rule as the best route. It would allow immigration officials to deny asylum to certain migrants and remove them from the country in a matter of days or even hours. Migrants deemed as threats would be the targets.
This rule is kind of intended to move some of these initial decisions up to the front of the process, get them ahead of the more complicated decisions dealing with whether you are actually persecuted and you know, what the severity of the persecution that you faced.
Immigration policy expert David Beer of the Cato Institute lays out the kind of people who should be the focus of asylum screenings.
So talking about more rigorously enforcing the prohibition on people who participated in persecution in their home countries, people who have committed certain crimes in their home countries. I mean, this type of stuff should be handled efficiently and quickly at the border.
Meanwhile, Senate Democrats say the best way to help improve the border situation is still for Congress to pass legislation. Senator Chris Murphy, a chief author of the failed bipartisan immigration bill, vows to continue working with Republican colleagues to resurrect it.
And so we're going to spend the next few weeks trying to reach out to our Republican colleagues and ask them to do what they said they wanted to get done: the development and passage of a bipartisan, tough border security measure that'll get our border under control.
Experts believe the greatest challenge facing any executive order regarding immigration is resources. Congress holds the purse strings, and without funding, any move by the president will have very limited effects. John, Tara?
Caitlin, along those lines, what's needed for a change to the asylum policy to actually occur?
Well, the biggest thing is more people. We're already seeing a shortage of Border Patrol agents, and in order to do all the new things proposed for these screenings to sort out who has a legitimate claim for asylum and who doesn't, it's going to require a huge increase in manpower. John, Tara?
All right, CBN's Caitlin Burke. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
All right, well, nearly 60 million Americans are now in the path of deadly storms.
This is the 4th straight day of violent weather, this time hitting the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Powerful tornadoes touching down from Texas to Tennessee, with thousands left in the dark without electricity as twisters shredded homes and knocked down power lines. This van you're seeing right there tossed to the side of the road like a toy. One couple prayed as they watched a tornado from their car.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Jesus, please spare us, Jesus. Oh my heavens.
Tragically, at least 4 people have been killed since Monday. 3 died from falling trees. Meteorologists expect a cluster of thunderstorms to unleash heavy rain over Texas tonight before barreling east.
And out of the ashes of a wildfire, signs of new life are emerging. Nearly 9 months after fires devastated the Hawaiian island of Maui, evangelist Greg Laurie shared a powerful message of hope. Last August, a wildfire destroyed more than 2,000 buildings and displaced 6,000 people. In late April, more than 3,000 people attended Hope for Lahaina, a 2-service outreach hosted by the Lauries, church and the community. And more than 100 people reportedly gave their lives to Christ during that event.
Some good news there. Coming up, new movement in former President Donald Trump's legal troubles and what they could mean for his campaign when Faith Nation returns. Well, welcome back. In Congress yesterday, a failed attempt to remove House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion was met with widespread discontent in the House chamber.
The form of the resolution is as follows: declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant.
Greene tried to oust Johnson because he worked with Democrats to pass an aid bill for Ukraine. The majority of Republicans opposed her effort, including President Trump, who reportedly tried to talk her out of it. With Democrats joining in to kill the motion, it was defeated overwhelmingly within the hour. Speaker Johnson said he hopes this signals the end of, quote, frivolous character assassination that has characterized the Congress.
Well, Donald Trump returned to court today as defendant in his New York hush money trial. Adult film star Stormy Daniels took the stand for a second day of questioning where Trump's lawyers accused her of extortion. Meanwhile, prosecutors maintain Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid Daniels days before the 2016 election to keep quiet about an affair with the former president, which he also denies. Outside the courthouse, Trump once again blasted the judge's gag order.
We've just filed a major motion in the appellate division concerning the absolutely unconstitutional gag order, where I'm essentially not allowed to talk to you about anything meaningful that's going on in the case.
Meanwhile, Trump's classified documents federal trial is indefinitely postponed. Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, said she needs more time to resolve evidence issues before it goes to a jury. In Georgia, an appeals court agreed to hear the former president's argument that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis should be disqualified over her romance with her former special prosecutor Nathan Wade. Trump, who faces election interference charges in the Peach State, maintains his innocence in all cases.
Well, joining us now, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections and a Faith Nation contributor. Let's start there. It looks like Donald Trump's hush money case in New York right now is the only one that will go to trial. So how much does this benefit him, or were those other cases just background noise for those who are planning to vote for him anyway?
Yeah, well, I think it's good news for Trump. Maybe I'm old school, but being on trial in the fewest number of cases possible is probably a good thing. It has been considered the weakest case that Trump is facing, although it's the most personal case. And when you have some of these witnesses like Stormy Daniels, being, revealing about the alleged relationship that happened, those are personal details that are coming out into the public. And so I still think I'm cautious to assume that just because the legal issues helped him in the primary and maybe helped him secure the nomination earlier, I still think it could be a liability in the general election because it's all focused on him. And I think voters want to know how candidates are going to help them in the issues that they're facing rather than what's going on in their own lives.
Maybe another liability here, Nathan, a potential warning shot from Indiana voters during the primary where 20% of Republicans chose Nikki Haley over Donald Trump, even though she dropped out of the race. How much of a concern is that for the Trump campaign, or will those GOP voters come back around in November?
On one hand, it's a little bit embarrassing. I mean, Nikki Haley hasn't been in the race for 2 months, and she's almost doing better than when she was in the race. I'm a little bit, but I don't think this is ultimately going to be a liability. I think the primary is a safe place for some Republican voters to voice their disapproval with Trump because it's not helping reelect Biden. But by the time we get to November, I expect 90% or more of people who call themselves Republicans to vote for Trump because that's usually what happens. And I expect more than 90% of Democrats to end up supporting Biden because that's usually what happens. Because even though they might not like their nominees, they look at the alternative and they don't want that to happen. And so they ultimately get in line behind their party person.
And, we're also seeing a rift among Democrats for that matter. President Biden facing backlash against some pro-Israel Democrats for halting weapons to Israel. How much of a problem is that for him?
It's a concern, particularly with younger voters. Younger voters do tend to vote Democratic, but if Republicans and Trump can eat into that margin, then it could be a difference maker in key states like Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, all these Nevada, all the top ones. We just really have to see what is the situation in Gaza when we get to the fall, because I think that's really going to matter. What is the news coverage? When students come back onto campus in the fall, what is the mood and what is happening? And it's going to be either a challenge for Biden or maybe we're in just a completely different place in the world on this specific issue.
Nathan, in just maybe a sentence or two, so the motion to vacate by Marjorie Taylor Greene failed. How much does this hurt her influence in Congress?
I mean, she has influence by way of the media and getting attention, but this vote showed that she doesn't have that influence in the legislative process. But Republicans changed the rules to give people like her an opportunity to make noise, and I think she's still going to make noise.
All right, Nathan Gonzalez, thank you so much for your thoughts. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, up next, one woman's mission to honor and encourage moms everywhere. Welcome back. Americans are not having as many kids these days. Recent CDC numbers show the U.S. birth rate hit a record low last year. Just under 3.6 million babies were born in 2023. That is 76,000 less than the year before and the lowest it's been since 1979. U.S. births were dropping for more than a decade before COVID hit in 2020. Then they ticked up for 2 years. Now, experts say the pandemic baby boom is over. Surveys suggest many couples would like to have children, but are concerned about job security and high child care costs.
Well, along with those concerns, the belief that a baby may stand in the way of a career can lead some women to choose an abortion or forgo motherhood altogether.
And one high-profile doctor, author, and mom says she's living proof that having a baby, even as a teenager, doesn't mean giving up your dreams. Lori Johnson brings us her story.
There's a rise in pediatric pneumonia hospitalizations.
Many people know Dr. Nicole Saphier as a Fox News contributor and radiologist at one of America's top cancer hospitals. Few people, however, know her backstory.
I became pregnant at the age of 17, and I was faced with a huge obstacle. Do I continue on with the pregnancy or do I not?
She felt pressure to have an abortion.
A lot of people around me told me that if I continued with the pregnancy, that I would never fulfill my dreams of being a doctor.
Nevertheless, Dr. Saphier decided to keep and raise her baby.
I was very faithful At the time, I used to go to Bible study, rosary, teen mass. One of the most heartbreaking things that happened when I found out I was pregnant was that I was asked not to go to teen mass anymore.
Still, she held on to her faith.
I was reading my teen Bible a ton during that time, and I was trying to draw strength from my Bible.
And she would need that strength.
I lost a lot of friends when I made the decision to have the baby. My boyfriend and I at the time also broke up. And my parents were holding my newborn son in the stands of my high school graduation. He was also at my college graduation, my medical school graduation.
Now her son Nick attends flight school to achieve his dream of becoming a commercial airline pilot. Motherhood can be filled with all types of challenges. Women who overcome these obstacles often credit their faith, family, and friends. In her book, Love Mom, Dr. Saphier provides the experience of the motherhood journey through her life and others.
So I have people talking about very intimate things like finding their faith through divorce, miscarriages, and losing hope. Some dealt with some domestic violence. There's suicide in there. There's losing a child. There's severe mental health issues.
Told by Dr. Saphier's friends.
Many of the moms from Fox, so Ainsley Earhart, Kayleigh McEnany, Jennifer Griffin, Martha McCallum, many others. But I also included moms that I had met outside of Fox, some of my patients, colleagues, Gold Star moms, and others.
So while no two moms are alike, it turns out we have more in common than we sometimes think.
You're not alone. We're all kind of running around like crazy, but you have to remind yourself that it is such a gift to be a mother, and you should thank God every single day that you are blessed to have children, and it's the most fulfilling thing ever.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
All right, you're going to love this. Still ahead, meet the newest and smallest member of the Faith Nation team when we come back.
So cute.
All right, we've been looking forward to telling everybody about this, right?
Absolutely.
That's right. So finally tonight, we are excited to announce the newest member of the Faith Nation family.
That's right. Our very own Abigail Robertson and her husband, Derek, welcome baby number 3. We have the pleasure of introducing Elizabeth Delavan. She was born right on time on May 6, weighing in at 7 pounds, 7 ounces. Mom, Dad, big sister Annalisa, big brother Daniel, and Elizabeth are all happy and doing well. And congratulations to that beautiful, look at that beautiful face.
Oh my, could she be any cuter?
Thanks for watching.
See you tomorrow.